do to start to settle them back down, to start to reestablish that, what we call comfort psychology. If they take that area back and they feel like they control that area, if they feel like they're controlling the environment where a major crime is taking place. And it worked. It worked so well that as soon as those individuals were arrested, within 6 months, most of the community went back to their routine of leaving most of their garage doors open all night long.
Because they figured these people were in there.
Precisely.
Oh my gosh.
And that's one of our gauges of how comfortable is a community.
Yeah.
We'll drive through the community and count how many people have their garage doors open.
Well, I think everyone, after a while, you forget. Because I was
That's
stuck
what
riding
happens.
my bike by myself. And then now it's like, okay, I can ride my bike.
Yeah, because we reestablished our neighborhood watch after
I
that
don't
event.
like that.
Because there was a
I
huge
wouldn't even go
interest
out.
in bringing that program back into that community. And I had 50 people show up for a meeting and learn about burglary prevention. And over the course of a year, it dwindled all the way down to me and the coordinator showing up for the meetings within a year. Because once those people were arrested, everybody over time forgot. They'll remember the incident, but they'll forget the feeling. And that's the apathy. You know, well, nothing's happened since then. You know, this hasn't happened. You know, there hasn't been any other events. And slowly, they go back to their routines of compromised, you know, mentality. And that's the way it happens. And then there'll be another major event. Things will resurge again.
About calling the police?
You mentioned about the community project to take back the creek area. What other community projects, as you know, I'm going back to Sterling. What other community projects do you have or in the process of implementing in, for example, in the Sterling area, 64, 65, 66, are there any?
We did a project down in Rose Island. We've done a project over in Countryside. Most of this is graffiti abatement. Because that's one of the biggest complaints we have from is that appearance of crime. So we're like, okay, well, if you don't want the appearance of crime, it requires buy-in. And for my communities and for Nathan's communities, we're like, you know what? We can't ask you to go out and do it. We're going to be there right there with you. And I went down and spent 6 hours painting with a group of citizens in Rose Island, where we repainted one of the pedestrian tunnels that was all graffiti. We actually repainted 2 pedestrian tunnels that were all graffitied up. We did a project in Sugarland where there was a section of bridge that had been all painted up. Went down there with that community and right along with them, painted over all the graffiti, and then we find someone that's willing to maintain it. The paint comes from Bayer, the company that makes house paint. They make a special paint that isn't designed for graffiti, it's designed for outdoor use. And we use chocolate brown as the color, because it's a dark color. Since most graffiti requires a light background, we painted everything chocolate brown. Okay, you show up with your red, nobody's gonna be able to read it. Show up with your black, no one's gonna be able to read it. Unless you show up with some light, we've got you. You're gonna have to work harder to re-vandalize this location. We're gonna make you work for it. And then when it pops back up, like the bridge over in Lansdowne, there's a community member that's right around the corner. He volunteered to monitor for graffiti. We gave him 2 cans of paint. He says, I'll monitor the area. If I see any graffiti, I'll call and report it. And then as soon as I notice it, I'm gonna go get a can of paint and a brush and I'll paint over top of it. And so far, almost completely eliminated the graffiti underneath that bridge. Because as soon as they realize that they're not getting what they want, no one's seeing it, nobody's paying attention to them, they move somewhere else. And they start vandalizing some other piece of property. And after a while, you drive that element out because they realize that what their effort is getting nothing. They're not getting anything out of it. And so we do these projects. We did a project out in Round Hill. We did a project in Lovettsville. Those are the ones that come to mind immediately.
In the neighborhood watch, the neighbors get together and they point out anything unusual, anything distracting.
Sure.
They don't necessarily do walking around the neighborhood.
We only have 2 communities that do patrols. You only have 1 still, right? South Riding? We only have 2. We don't advocate it at all because it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
We don't want the watch members identified in any way, shape, or form. South Riding does actively patrol. Seneca Ridge does actively patrol. We don't like that. But according to the National Sheriff's Association, who actually is the model that we use for our program, we can't tell them that they can't do that. We encourage them not to do that. And here's why. If you're driving around in your car with your nice little neighborhood watch placard on the side of it, the criminal element just waits for you to go by and then does what they're going to do. But if everybody in the community is doing what we call window watch, okay? You're either looking through the window of your car or you're looking through the window of your house. I don't want you in the front yard waving the phone. I already called them. They said they're on their way. That doesn't help me. That gives them a head start. They're not as fast as I used to be. And you laugh. I wouldn't have to use that as an example if it doesn't actually happen. They'll go out and stand in their yard on their phone and watch. I'm like, that's not helping us. Okay? I want you at the window, peeking through the blinds, going, yeah, I can still see them. Yeah, they're still standing out there. That's what I want. Because you know what? With our big white police cars now, our big white sheriff's department cars now, it's hard to sneak up on people. It was great when they were brown. You could turn the lights off and very slowly drive through a neighborhood and nobody could see you. These white cars we have now, you can see them 2 blocks away in street lights. So we have to work a little harder. Okay? A lot of times we'll park and we'll walk in now because the cars can be seen too far away. Okay? So that's the other thing is, don't assume just because you called and you didn't see the big white magical police car go by, we're not there. A lot of times we'll walk in, especially if we're trying to catch somebody with something in progress, we're going to walk in, we're not going to drive in.
Okay, so if I do see something and I call you, and I see a funny looking van driving through my house in my neighborhood at 4 in the morning,
Okay.
you check out and you discover that it's legitimately they're delivering something. Do you call me back?
If you request it.
Okay, so that I know next time if I see it, I know what to do.
Yeah, the deputy will call you. You can request that the deputy call you with the results.
There's no lie, she's gonna call every morning on the paper guy. Okay, lady, okay, paper guy.
We'll even go as far as if you don't want a phone call, if you actually want to talk to the deputy, they'll come to your house and talk to you. You don't have to. Okay? If you want to, you can remain completely anonymous. You don't have to tell us who you are. You don't have to tell us your phone number. I will tell you, if you call in on the 911 line, we will capture your phone number. And we will hold that phone number in the dispatch information until that call is cleared. Because if that turns out to be a legitimate emergency, you may be the only witness to that event that we have. So we do capture the phone number. But if you've requested to remain anonymous, as soon as that call is closed out and the dispatcher doesn't feel that they need your information any longer, the number will be removed from the call. So it can't be subpoenaed, it can't be FOIA'd, anything like that. Okay? So you can remain completely anonymous, and it does work.
I've always felt that if I called, I was just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But the police have better things
No,
to do.
this is our job.
I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know if other people feel that way. I mean,
That's like
it's like you must have other things to do besides.
That's
that.
one of the biggest problems, what I was saying, that center here.
It's not
I'll
apathy as
let
much
you
as,
answer this one.
it's not apathy as much as you have
Yes, it is.
other things that are
it's-
more important.
People are saying, well, that's not important enough, you know, they're doing other stuff.
The progression of crime works like this. If they drive through your neighborhood and they steal one thing from a car and they leave, and they're unchallenged or they don't feel that they were at risk, they're going to come back and do it again. And as long as people don't do anything about it, they will continue to come back over and over and over again. It's what we call the shark mentality. As long as there's food in the water, the sharks will come. Take the food out of the water and put the area at risk, the sharks will go away. Never assume that you're bothering us by calling us. This is our job. You're not waking us up in the middle of the night. We don't have to get dressed and drive to your house and find out what's going on. We are already here. Most of us got into this profession because we like the job we do.